To build a civil engineering firm in the world we live in today, you must focus on company culture. But what does a civil engineer know about company culture? Well, in this episode of the Civil Engineering CEO, I have with me Samantha Renz. Samantha is a licensed professional engineer and the CEO at Evolving Texas. And she's going to talk about how to build company culture. She's going to talk about using assessments, talk about aligning with your values, and many other things that you can do. We're really excited for this episode because it's something in the world we live in today that helps you to attract, develop, and retain your people and grow sustainable civil engineering firms. So before we dive in with Samantha, a word from our sponsor, Tensar. Before we go on here, I'd like to recognize our sponsor for this episode, Tensar International.
Check out Tensar Plus, the award-winning design software for construction professionals to design with geosynthetics and calculate their value on projects. Tensar Plus is simple to use with a powerful engineering system at its core. Whether you're designing a crane pad or need to build a temporary road over muck, the cost, time, and carbon savings can be calculated, making comparison with alternatives simple. Whatever you're working on, Tensar Plus is your toolbox for success.
All right, now I'd like to welcome our guest to the episode for today. Samantha Renz is a licensed professional engineer. She is the CEO at Evolving Texas. Samantha, welcome to the Civil Engineering CEO.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you for having me.
No, I'm excited to have you here. Looking forward to talking with you a little bit about your career and the firm. So let's start with the company. Tell us a little bit about Evolving Texas. Where are you located? What do you do? What types of services does the firm offer?
Okay. Well, Evolving Texas is a civil engineering and planning firm located in Fort Worth, Texas, and we provide a wide range of services, mostly focused on land development. We work on small projects as small as helping an individual with a stormwater problem on a single family lot, all the way up to 400 and 500 acre developments. We do everything from single family, multifamily, small and large commercial, all the way through industrial and municipal infrastructure projects. Currently, we have one office in Fort Worth. Many of our employees are remote at the time, and we have employees that are in other states as well and outside of the Metroplex. And then we have a pool of contractors that we use and pull in as necessary when we have larger jobs. We have been in business since 2009. And again, like I said, we focus on land development, do all aspects of that, from the hydrology and hydraulics to entitlements, platting, all of the civil engineering and master plan development.
That's great. And I like the idea of, having some of the contractors available. Kind of gives you the ability to flex. I know in our industry, there can be some very busy times. Things can get slow a little bit. It could be seasonal in some respects. So that's, I think, a nice approach. So let's talk a little bit about you, Samantha, in terms of your career path, your career journey. You started working as an engineer in government, kind of shaping policies, and then you transitioned into the private sector. Talk to us a little bit about your career pathway, and did you have the goal of kind of becoming a high-level executive when you made that transition to the private side? Tell us a little bit about your journey. Okay.
Well, I started my career in the city of Sanger in local government. I worked there for 10 years, and that was a transformative experience for me. Working in a small town allowed me to take on many roles and responsibilities and gain comprehensive understanding of how local governments function. I was closely mentored by the city manager and city secretary, and they really gave me the freedom to take charge of different projects and initiatives and really take the lead on a lot of different things. During my time with the city of Sanger, I had the opportunity to work in various positions, including, office management, IT, elections. I was the election clerk for many years, did planning coordination. I was the engineering associate. I attended board meetings, drafted board packets, prepared meeting minutes, and was involved in the creation of the city's comprehensive master plan. After working for the city of Sanger, I worked for several other local governments, several other cities in the Metroplex, and that allowed me to continue my professional growth. The last city I was at the city of Rowlett, and I was on the city manager track there. And after so many years, I had always wanted to start my own business. So I didn't necessarily leave the private sector going into the, leave the public sector going into the private sector to, with a goal of achieving a high level position there, but high level executive position. But I did know that I wanted to have my own business and own my own business someday. And I knew that if I stayed in local government in that role I was in and on that path, that I would never make the leap in that transition. So when this opportunity came up, and I turned it down originally, but decided, after much thought and prayer, that I would give it a shot and make that leap. And I've been with Evolving Texas since 2014, and it's been the best decision I could have ever made.
Wow, good for you. That's great. I know that can be obviously a big transition, when you're working in government and then, decide to kind of go to the private side. But the other thing that I also know from my own experience is that I think whenever you get into a situation where you're working in an organization where you just get a lot of responsibility thrown upon you. I worked for a very small, a private civil engineering firm right out of college, maybe 5 people. I got to learn a lot of stuff because you kind of just get your hands kind of into everything, kind of like by default, because there's no one else to do it. So I think that is one of the benefits of being in a role like that, which it sounds like you are, where you were getting a lot of experience, people were mentoring you, kind of people were allowing you to do things. I'm sure, and I know in government sometimes you can be short staffed, and people kind of have to jump on board. So I definitely see that as a benefit in that type of situation. So Evolving Texas is a growing firm, sounds like, for sure. Can you talk a little bit about kind of your growth strategy and kind of where you see the firm going over the next 5 years or so?
Yeah, absolutely. So, at Evolving Texas, we're all about making a positive impact on the environment and the communities we work in while having fun doing it. So, we believe in building strong relationships with our clients and delivering top-notch work. That is key to our growth. We're in the process of adding survey services, which we're stoked about. Plus, we're planning on the addition of structural and MEP services in the near future. So hopefully that will be fully in place within the next 5 years. In addition to that, I believe that, our team is our greatest asset, and we're committed to hiring the right people to help us achieve our goals. We're focused on creating an awesome culture that attracts and retains top talent. And we believe that our success is driven by the passion and dedication of our team. We do take great care in our hiring process. I've always heard in my peer groups, be slow to hire, quick to fire. And so we do take the time really to really know the people that we're hiring and make sure that they're a good fit for our culture. Sometimes we lose potential employees because they accept other offers rather quickly at times. And but I'm finding that taking the time and really making sure they're a right fit has been very helpful in making sure that we have the right people on our team. We want our team members to not only excel in their individual roles, but also to be collaborative and creative and passionate about the work they do. We want them to be happy and believe in our company the way we believe in them. So, summing it up, our growth strategy is all about sustainable expansion, strong relationships, delivering top quality projects, adding new services, and creating an amazing culture to attract and retain the right people to help us achieve our goals.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that that's always a challenge in that, I know the civil engineering industry is very busy right now. I know Texas is very busy right now. And so I think like the key word that you mentioned there is sustainable, because I think it can you can easily get excited. Hey, we got to grow. There's a lot of work out there. We got to hire, we got to get more projects. But at the same time, you need to be strategic about it, because things may slow down a bit. There may be all this infrastructure money coming, but it's not here yet, right? There's like a lot of ups and downs that I think have to be weighed out. So, I think it's definitely something to think through. And like I said earlier, the idea of, using some contractors and things of that nature to help you flex a little bit while you're growing, I think is a good strategy. And who knows, a contractor could be a contractor now and a full-time employee later, right?
Right, exactly.
So there's lots of options and opportunities for sure, which is, I think, the exciting part about growing a business, especially in the civil engineering world right now. So, All right, let's talk a little bit more about you in terms of management and leadership. If we were to ask your staff what your management or leadership style is, how do you think they'd answer that question?
I think they would probably say, very laid back, open door. She lets us do our thing. I like to say my management style is like being the conductor of a symphony. I empower my team to perform their roles to the best of their abilities, and I'll be there to provide support and guidance when needed. So I just believe if we set, the clear expectations, they know the end goal, and we all work collaboratively towards achieving our goals. It's just like a symphony orchestra strives to create beautiful music through teamwork and coordination. That's what we do. We have a very good flow. Our team, is we're very flexible. They're, like I said, located in different places. Got a guy in Florida and Houston, and all over the Metroplex. And so I just try to maintain an open door policy, and I value transparency and honesty. And I want my team to feel comfortable approaching me with any concerns or ideas they have. The flexibility is the most important thing. I feel like I understand that everyone has their own unique work style. They have their families, their needs, different situations. So, being flexible, I think, is key in this day and age for sure. And then most importantly, I believe in the power of teaching, but also learning from my team. I learn something from my team members almost every day. So I want to make sure that we create an environment where everyone feels comfortable sharing their knowledge and experiences, and where we can all learn from each other and grow together. Because you know what? Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Yeah, that's right. No, for sure. And, something you said there around like, the idea of kind of letting people do their thing and, being a little bit hands off in terms of, not micromanaging, if you will. And the
Right.
reason I say that is because I think that that's a challenge for engineering professionals. I think we're very detail driven, we're very technical driven. So I'm just wondering if that's something that you always were able to do, or if you had to work on that, or, the idea of being a little bit more hands off and being able to delegate. I just think it's very challenging for engineers.
Yes, it is. And especially, when you have an idea or the way that you think that things should be done. But, I learned way early on that, I am not always the smartest one in the room, and other people have ideas that, are better than mine. And like I said, that I learned something from my team every day. And I find when I sit back and listen, they are very creative, they have amazing ideas, and they're capable. So I try to let them run with things as far as they can. And, I'm here if you need me. And, I do review and QC markup plans and such, but I try to let them take it as far as they can on their own.
That's great. No, that's awesome. I think going back to what you said before too about like kind of the culture and stuff, I think that that's important because you want people to feel like, they have the ability to do things without someone, they want guidance and mentoring, I think, but they don't want someone kind of watching them every second. They want to be
Right.
able to take on some responsibilities on their own. So I think that
Right. Yeah, I think too,
that's
if you're
cool.
if you're constantly, micromanaging, you're kind of squashing their creativity too. So you're limiting them if you do that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So obviously over the last few years, a lot has gone on. COVID was a big, obviously changed the way we work a bit. Like I said, there's infrastructure stuff going on, especially in Texas. I know things are very busy, different funding, different policies. How do you as a leader kind of, knowing that everyone's kind of looking at you and like, they're kind of going off of you in terms of your response to things, what you're saying, the words you're using, how do you manage to kind of stay, not overreact or underreact too much when different things like this happen, knowing that kind of you're setting the tone for everyone?
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Culture Index survey, but it's a tool to identify personality styles.
Hmm.
And it has a series of dot patterns that tell you a lot about a person. And if you were to look at my dot pattern, my B dot, which is the social component, so there's the A, B, and C, A, B, C, and D pattern. And my B dot is extremely far to the right. So that's my highest trait. That means that I am naturally put people first and think about prioritizing other people's feelings, well-being, and everything else. So when issues arise, I believe like in gathering all the facts, having the conversations with everyone involved, and then just using it as an opportunity for growth and learning, collaborating, and trying to solve it. So overreacting has really never been an issue for me. I don't tend to overreact. I can admit that probably underreacting is probably something where I fall in that trap. And I know my weaknesses though. So, that's why I've surrounded myself with a team of rock stars, who are stronger in the areas where I'm lacking. And, for instance, I'm not the best at holding people accountable. I tend to love people and want to foster a positive, nurturing environment. And if it's, project issues or financial things or whatever, I jump right in and get involved, but I also just bring in the people who are in that expertise and figure out a way to solve it. A lot of times I tend to not worry. I'm like, give it to God, he's in control. So, I'm just going to trust him. And then, I have those people in my business, in my life, and partners and such that do worry about those things. So I think that's key, is having those strategic partnerships, that can handle the things that are not your strength.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a great point about, you mentioned the culture index as an assessment. I think just any assessment that can help you as a leader, as a firm, to identify like the strengths and weaknesses or the strong points of different people on the team could be really beneficial for, or work styles, I guess is a good way to say it too, could be beneficial for everybody in the organization, because then you kind of understand your team and, who's maybe better at doing one thing than another, or how you might approach one person or another. We do a lot of kind of project management and leadership training here. And that's always something that we like to talk about is, understanding your team can really help you in terms of your conversations and even understanding different work styles when you're dealing with clients. I mean, even though you don't have an assessment, as when you do more of these assessments, I think you learn more about, people's tendencies, and then you're able to, well, this client's very analytical, so I really need to present them with data as opposed to, giving them more of a bigger picture. So I think that's a really good approach in terms of trying to, make sure that kind of people are in the right seats, people are doing the right things, and also, like you said, knowing your own strengths and weak spots.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
So with everything that happened with COVID, and, obviously there's this kind of cultural shift of a lot more work from home going on. It sounds like you already had a lot of that going on, or have a lot of that going on. So how much did that affect you in terms of your operations?
Well, prior to COVID, we were 100% in office. We, didn't work remote at all. So in March of 2020, we made the decision to go completely remote, and thinking that was going to be a short time frame, and then we transitioned to completely remote, which resulted in us, downsizing our physical offices. And when we started coming back, we wanted to maintain a hybrid culture. So we do have offices. We've set up, we have some dedicated offices, and then we've implemented a kind of a hot desk situation where team members can come in and grab a desk whenever they need to. We've got conference rooms and break rooms and such to meet with clients. And, I think remote work has its pros and its cons. And the pro side of it, we found that it's opened up the opportunity for us to hire talented individuals outside of the Metroplex and other states. And so it's definitely led to an increased interest in from prospective employees, which it's fantastic for lots of reasons. We have projects that maybe we do out in Houston, and now I have team members in Houston. We have potential projects in Colorado, and I have a team member in Colorado. So it's kind of opened things up for us quite a bit, and our opportunities quite a bit. I think the challenges though are more, especially for those, younger engineers or people who thrive on social interaction, where they can benefit more from that hands-on work environment and shoulder-to-shoulder learning from someone. So we've addressed that basically by technology. We use Teams and Zoom for our meetings. We have a morning huddle every day, and we at 8:30 in the morning, we all jump on Zoom, and we use that to connect. We do our kind of a gratitude circle, see if anyone has any prayer requests, and we'll pray for them if they need it. And we will just find out what's going on in their lives. And we talk about work challenges, personal challenges, whatever it is. Do you need help with anything? And then if there's anything that arise, we may discuss it work-wise as a team. We can share the screen and everybody give their input, or go ahead and set the appointments for whoever they need to meet with and talk with throughout the day. So I think, we handle that very well. We also, our engineering director meets with some of our team members on a weekly basis in the office just to mentor and teach them. And, if there's somebody that needs something specific from me, I will meet them in the office as well. And then we'll have, like all in the office days where, like, hey, everybody who can come in, just come in, and we'll have lunch and do things like that. But it has shifted our culture some. We used to, when we were in office, play basketball for breakfast tacos. We had a little Nerf basketball game, play basketball for breakfast tacos or pizza, and everybody made their goals. We'd buy lunch, and we had, a lot more social activities, lunch and learns, things like that. So we're still navigating how best to, regain all of our culture, but really excited about possibilities that come with the hybrid work environment.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it is nice that you definitely have a big focus on culture, and regardless of whether you're working remote or in person, you're trying to connect people and have those conversations, which is awesome. And I had a business trip to Texas a few years ago and discovered breakfast tacos for the first time. It was an awesome discovery. Not something we have in the Northeast. So
I almost never do not have breakfast tacos in my freezer. I usually, when I make them, I make, a dozen or two at a time, and then freeze them. So, anytime you're in Texas and need a breakfast taco, holler.
Yeah. I mean, when someone told me about it, I was like, for breakfast? I'm like, that's amazing. So, so CEOs are often responsible for kind of guiding the strategic trajectory of the firms that they lead. And I know, again, that's something I think for an engineer, that's not something that we're used to, not something that we do as engineers in our engineering work. And so I'm just wondering, like, how you approach that, how you started thinking strategically when you had to. Talk to us a little bit about that process for you.
Okay, well, I really believe that, staying connected to, peers and other people in the industry is really vital for, guiding strategic trajectory, because networking, learning from others, help me to keep a finger on the pulse of the industry and best practices, and ensure that our services continue to meet the evolving needs of our clients. I love even getting feedback from people on our work and the things that we're doing and what they see coming down the road in the future. But I also believe in that importance of strategic planning in the first place to achieve your goals, because after all, the goal is just a plan. A goal without a plan is just a dream, and a plan without action is a dream deferred. So we definitely take the time to incorporate our team and get their input in our strategic planning sessions, and to ensure we're moving in the right direction and making progress toward our objectives. We regularly assess our strategies and adjust them as needed. And this just helps us stay agile and responsive to changes in the market and industry while we're keeping our eyes on the prize. So we do involve our team members in the planning process. We gather insights and ideas from all levels of the organization just to ensure that everyone's aligned and committed to the plan. And, our plan, definitely we focus on our core values at the same time that we're creating that strategic plan, making sure everything is aligned. And overall, I think, a strong strategic plan combined with the consistent execution and adaptability is key to our success. And when we started really thinking about strategic planning and actually putting that in place, I actually came from, like I said, local government, and I worked for the city of Haltom City, and I created and wrote their 5-year strategic plan when we were going for accreditation through APWA. So I was the accreditation manager there. So that was the first time I'd ever written a strategic plan before, but it was a requirement for our public works department to become accredited. So I bought a book. I read it, I wrote a strategic plan. And wrote a strategic plan. So I've been able to use that, carrying forward into this business. So it's been a good experience for me.
That's awesome. I love that bought a book. That's great. I'm always telling my kids, they're always on Google on all these apps. I'm like, you can go to the library and get a book on anything you want and learn how to do it. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah, really, it works.
Yes.
But no, I like that. I think that's important because I think as engineering professionals, a lot of engineers want to become leaders in their firms, of course, but I think there's definitely some fear around all of these skill sets that, as engineers, we don't learn in school, like exactly what we're talking about here, like strategic planning, like culture building, like, interacting with people as much as you kind of have to as the CEO. So I think that just knowing and getting to talk to people like you that have gone through this as an engineer and had to kind of learn some of these skills and have been successful at it can definitely be a confidence booster. And I think also it just goes to show you that, as engineers, we learn a lot of stuff in school that's very analytical, but it doesn't mean that we can't learn other things if we just kind
Right.
of apply ourselves. And I think when we get thrown into certain situations, we just have to learn,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So the last thing I want to talk about a little bit more is culture. I know that you've spoken about it a bunch already, so I know that it's important to you in evolving Texas. And to me, it seems like, and I think a lot of companies fail to recognize this, but to me, it seems like culture is really something that, like someone in your position, just needs to spend a lot of time on because in our industry, it seems that the biggest challenge for people is like recruiting and retaining people, right? Because it's such a
Right.
competitive industry right now. Civil engineering firms are busy. So I would have to imagine that the culture is really kind of top of mind and something that you spend a lot of time on.
Absolutely, it is. I think we focus on culture by, prioritizing open communication, collaboration, and a commitment to our core values. Our core values are, the guiding principles, we live and die by, we hire and fire by, our core values. So when we are bringing in a new person, for instance, and the one of the first things we do after I have my initial meetings with them is we do administer that culture index survey, and that gives us a good read on how the individual prefers to communicate, what motivates them. Every person is different, and what motivates one isn't the same for someone else. And we also then talk about our core values and get their thoughts and feedback and just kind of hear from them on how they feel about those things. And we, throughout our employees' time with us, we administer that survey periodically. And that gives us a snapshot in time about how they're feeling in their current role, in their current position. So it shows like their main personality dots stay the same. And then there's a second survey that is about how they're feeling in their job right now. And that really gives us an idea of, if they feel like they are really having to deal with people too much or they don't have enough social interaction. And there's a part on there that's like energy units that shows us if they're really being overworked, if they feel like, that it's just too much for them. So it really helps us gauge if they're in that right role. And, I am of the belief if someone is not in the right role, we try to adjust for them, so that we can, okay, let's figure out what your strengths are, what you enjoy doing, and let's try to craft this role, a role that fits you and that you can be successful in and that can still help the company be successful. And I've been known to come up with job titles and write new job descriptions, that fit that role. I feel like, like I said before, that our people are the backbone, the infrastructure of our company. And, I would rather make some adjustments for an individual and they're happy and we're happy and we can continue to build a good culture together. And I find that normally, builds trust and loyalty. A lot of our people have been with us for a long time, and I think they will be with us for a long time. And I think that, we have such a open communication line that I do feel like they trust us and they know that we have their best interest at heart. They feel comfortable speaking up, expressing their needs and desires. And, we regularly ask in our evaluations and such, what can we do better? And when they provide feedback, we listen and we make changes.
That's awesome. I love that. All right, Samantha, last question for you. What would you say is the number one trait that you feel is important for engineering professionals to possess today?
I would say adaptability. I think the industry is constantly evolving, and being able to adapt to new technologies and methods is definitely essential. I think that being open-minded and having strong listening skills are important aspects of adaptability. And that just allows us to actively seek out and consider different perspectives, and helps us gain valuable insights, learn from others, and that just results in better solutions and outcomes. And like you mentioned earlier, sometimes engineers tend to have a way that they do things. And I find in my day-to-day, I have a lot of very senior level engineers, older folks that have been doing this a long time, and some of them have been doing it longer than I have. And when we're in meetings and talking, they all want to over talk each other and not listen. They all think that their way is the right way and they want their point to be heard. So I think that being able to shut your mouth and listen to other people and their ideas, and then being open-minded about it and being able to adapt is definitely key.
That's awesome. Well, Samantha Renz, CEO at Evolving Texas, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with us here on the Civil Engineering CEO. We really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Samantha. She gave some really great tips on, using those assessments for company culture, aligning the values, getting that feedback from your staff, and then listening and implementing it. All awesome stuff. If you like the show, please consider subscribing to our channel here. We put out videos like this on a weekly basis that help engineers become better managers and leaders. I'll see you next week.